Okay. Um, I want you to visualize something with me for a second.
Right.
It's a little terrifying, so brace yourself.
Uh-huh.
I want you to think about the people you love the most on this planet.
Okay, I'm tracking.
Your partner, your kids, maybe your best friends from college.
The people who actually get you.
Exactly. The people who get you. Now, do a quick mental calculation of the sheer number of hours you actually get to spend with them in a given week. Just, rough math, got that number.
I already know where this is going, and honestly, it hurts a little bit.
It hurts, right? Now, take that number and compare it to the number of hours you spend sitting next to or staring at on a Zoom call with Dave from accounting or Sarah from marketing.
Yeah, the math is usually pretty depressing. You're often looking at 40, 50 hours a week with the latter group.
Exactly. You spend more waking hours with your coworkers than with the people you actually chose to have in your life. And here's the kicker that our sources highlight today.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't pick these people. They didn't pick you.
Mm.
But you are forced into this small box, physical or digital, and told to collaborate and synergize. It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
It certainly can be, and that's exactly where our source material starts today. We are looking at a really comprehensive guide on workplace dynamics, specifically focused on what the author calls the 9-to-5 survival guide. And they define the workplace in a way that I think is just perfect. They call it a weird social experiment.
A weird social experiment. I love that.
Right.
It validates so much of the awkwardness I felt in open plan offices. It feels like we're lab rats in a maze made of cubicle walls.
It really reframes the whole situation. The guide argues that the office isn't a family, despite what your company's mission statement or that neon sign in the lobby might say.
Oh, the neon signs.
Now, we're a family. No, you're not. It's a diplomatic zone. And because it's a diplomatic zone, you need a totally different set of skills than you use with your actual friends. If you treat it like a family reunion, you're going to get burned.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We are building a survival kit for this experiment. We're going to talk about why you shouldn't try to be best friends with everyone, how to handle the absolute worst office archetypes.
Villain.
The villains, yeah. We've got specific strategies for the micromanager, the credit stealer, all of them. And we're going to master the art of the pleasant no.
Which is a life skill, honestly, not just a work skill. Learning to say no without destroying a relationship is a superpower.
Absolutely. But let's start with the mindset shift, that work-family myth. I feel like there is so much pressure, especially when you start a new job, to bond immediately, to find your tribe, to feel like you take a bullet for these people. Why is that such a trap?
It's a trap because it creates an expectation of emotional intimacy that the workplace simply cannot support.
Right.
If you go in expecting emotional fulfillment from an org chart, you're setting yourself up to fail. The source material offers a framework called the coworker spectrum to help us categorize who we're actually dealing with so we stop over-investing in the wrong people.
Okay, walk us through the spectrum, because I think I've definitely been guilty of trying to force connections where they didn't belong just because I didn't want to eat lunch alone.
I mean, most of us have. So let's break it down. At the very top of the pyramid, you have work friends. Now, the text is very specific here. These are the rare treasures.
Rare being the operative word.
Very rare. These are people you actually trust. You see them outside of work. You can be honest with them without fear of it ending up in a performance review.
But you're saying we shouldn't expect everyone to be in this category.
If you find one or two in a career, you're lucky. The mistake people make is trying to force this status on people who don't belong there just because you sit near them.
Right. So if they aren't work friends, but they aren't enemies, who are they?
The next level down is solid allies. This is your work squad. You trust them professionally. If you're in a meeting and someone throws you under the bus, the solid ally will speak up. But, and this is the distinction, you aren't necessarily besties.
Right. You might not know their deepest childhood traumas, and that's okay.
Exactly. I don't need to know everyone's trauma to respect their spreadsheet skills.
Fair enough. But there's a category below that, right?
Yeah.
Where most people live.
Yes. And this is the one that really stood out to me as the game changer. Friendly neutrals.
Friendly neutrals. That sounds a little bland, doesn't it?
It sounds bland, but it's actually safe. The guide emphasizes that this is where most of your colleagues should land. Friendly neutrals are pleasant. You say hi, you talk about the weather, you ask about their weekend. You are professional, but there is no deep emotional relationship. And here is the liberation. That is a perfectly acceptable goal.
That is freeing. Because usually if I don't click with someone, I feel like I'm failing at company culture. Like I'm being antisocial if I don't want to go to the happy hour with them every single Friday.
Not at all. The source explicitly says, save your emotional energy for relationships that matter. If you try to move a friendly neutral into the friend zone, you're just exhausting yourself. It's an efficiency problem. You only have so much social battery. Why drain it on people who are just there to get a paycheck and go home?
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And then I assume at the bottom of the spectrum, we have the people we want to avoid entirely.
The toxic or avoidable group. The energy vampires. The goal with them isn't connection, it's protection. Minimize contact. Do not engage beyond what is strictly necessary for the job. You're not going to fix them with kindness.
Okay, so if we aren't supposed to force friendship, how do we build the connections that do matter? Because nothing makes me cringe harder than mandatory fun. You know, the let's all stand in a circle and share a fun fact nightmare.
Oh, the dreaded icebreaker. The source is very hard on those. It calls them transactional or forced. It says real bonds come from organic things. And the number one driver of bonding, according to the research they cite, shared struggle.
Shared struggle. So basically trauma bonding.
In a way, yes. Surviving a difficult project, a tight deadline, a crisis that bonds people infinitely more than a corporate retreat or a trust fall. When you're in the trenches together, you see how people handle pressure. That builds respect.
That makes sense. It's like, hey, we survived the Q4 audit. We can survive anything.
Exactly. It's the foxhole mentality. The other big factor is consistency. It's not the grand gesture once a year. It's the daily coffee run. It's the small, low-stakes interactions. And, interestingly, helping without keeping score.
What does that look like in practice? Because in an office, it feels like everyone is always keeping score.
It means answering a question or showing someone how to use the new software without acting like you're doing them a massive favor. It builds goodwill. But the guide warns against the opposite, transactional interactions.
Right.
If you only talk to me when you need something, we aren't friends, and we aren't even allies. We're just trading favors.
I feel that. I have people who only ping me when they need a file. It definitely doesn't make me want to go to bat for them when they mess up.
Precisely. And the other trap mentioned is oversharing. There's a quote from the text that stuck with me. TMI creates distance, not intimacy.
Wait, really? I thought vulnerability was supposed to be a superpower. Isn't that what all the leadership books say? Put your whole self to work?
There's a fine line. The source calls it the vulnerability hangover. You share too much too soon, maybe about your divorce or a health issue, thinking it creates a bond. But if you do that with a friendly neutral, it actually just makes the other person want to back away slowly.
Because now they have to carry that weight.
Exactly. It puts a burden on them to manage your emotions, which is not what they signed up for. Vulnerability without trust isn't intimacy. It's just exposure.
That is a really important nuance. Vulnerability with a work friend is great. Vulnerability with Dave from accounting might just be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Read the room.
Speaking of reading the room, let's talk about the people we want to run away from, the rogues gallery. The source material has a character select screen of office villains that is just too accurate.
It's frighteningly accurate, almost painful.
Let's start with the classic, the micromanager, the person who needs to be CC'd on emails about ordering lunch, the person who stands behind your chair, literally or metaphorically.
So the micromanager is usually driven by anxiety and a deep need for control. We tend to think they are just mean, but usually they're just scared that if they let go, everything will fall apart.
Okay, but knowing they're scared doesn't make them less annoying. How do we handle them without losing our minds?
The guide suggests a strategy that feels counterintuitive. Over-communicate.
Lean into it. Wouldn't that just encourage them?
You lean all the way in. You update them before they ask. If you know they're going to hover at 2 p.m., send them the status update at 1:55. You set mini deadlines.
So you're basically swamping them with data so they feel safe.
Yes. You build trust through extreme reliability. It's a preemptive strike. Eventually, they realize they don't need to hover because you're already 3 steps ahead. You're effectively managing their anxiety for them so they stop projecting it onto you.
That sounds like a lot of upfront work, though.
It is upfront work, but it buys you freedom on the back end.
Okay, I can see that. Now, what about the credit stealer? The person who says, we did this when they really mean you did this, but I want the promotion. This one makes my blood boil.
This is the most rage-inducing one. The advice here is very tactical. First, paper trail, obviously. Document your work in emails with stakeholders CC'd. Never do work that only exists in a one-on-one conversation with a credit stealer.
Right. Always bring receipts.
Receipts are mandatory, but the real gem is the verbal judo you can use in meetings.
Yes, there was a specific script for this in the source. I love this.
It's brilliant. So picture this. The credit stealer claims an idea in a meeting. You chime in immediately and say, I'm so glad that approach worked when I implemented it during the beta phase.
Ooh, when I implemented it. That is spicy.
It is. It's polite, it's professional, but it clearly marks your territory. You aren't accusing them of theft, you're just adding context. It signals to the room that you are the origin point without you looking petty.
That is the level of petty professionalism I aspire to. Okay, next up, the chronic complainer. The person for whom the sky is always falling. Every meeting is a disaster. Every policy change is the end of the world.
The trap here is trying to fix it. As human beings, when someone complains, we want to offer solutions. Have you tried talking to HR? Have you tried this new software?
Right, we want to help. We want to solve the puzzle.
Do not help. They don't want solutions. They want to vent. If you offer a solution, they will just find a reason why it won't work. The strategy here is the neutral.
The neutral.
It goes like this. That sounds frustrating. And then you physically move on. You pivot the conversation back to work, or you excuse yourself. Do not get sucked into the spiral. Their misery is a choice. Don't make it your project.
I love that. Tough break and walk away. Protect your peace.
Exactly.
What about the passive-aggressive communicator? The one who says it's fine when it is definitely absolutely not fine.
You have to call their bluff. Passive-aggressive people thrive on ambiguity. They want you to guess why they're mad. So the source says, make it explicit.
How do you do that without starting a fight?
If they say it's fine with a tone that says, I hate you, you respond to the words, not the tone. You say, great, I'm glad we're aligned, and you move on.
That feels dangerous.
It forces them to either speak up or let it go. Or, if it's really bad, you call it out calmly. You said you were on board, but I'm sensing some hesitation. Is there a concern we should discuss?
Put it right on the table.
Exactly. You strip away the plausible deniability. It's uncomfortable, but it usually stops the behavior because they realize their little games won't work on you.
And finally, the know-it-all. The person who actually might be smart, but needs everyone to know they're the smartest person in the room.
Let them be right about the small stuff. Pick your battles. If they want to correct your grammar or argue about a minor formatting issue, let them have it. Feed the ego.
But for the big stuff?
Bring data. Opinions don't beat a know-it-all. Spreadsheets do. And flattery works too. You know so much about this history. What do you think we should do? Use their ego against them. If they feel respected, they often stop fighting you.
It's like psychological warfare, but for productivity.
That's effectively what office diplomacy is. It's managing human nature so you can get your job done.
Now, this leads perfectly into boundaries. Because sometimes the problem isn't that someone is a villain, it's that they are just a lot. The overshare, the person who treats the break room like a therapy session.
This is tough because we want to be kind humans. But the source is clear. You are not a therapist. Unless you have a license and are charging an hourly rate, you cannot fix their personal life. When someone starts dumping heavy personal info, you need a script to get out.
Give us the script, because I usually just nod and panic.
The guide suggests saying, I appreciate you trusting me with this, but I'm not sure I'm the right person to talk to about it. I want to make sure you get the support you need.
That feels harsh to say to someone who's upset.
It feels harsh, but the alternative is absorbing their trauma, which helps no one. It's actually kind to set that boundary. You aren't equipped to help them. The other tactic is physical cues. Start packing up your bag. Look at your watch. Look at your monitor. Signal that the interaction is ending.
And what about the constant crisis colleague, the one who is always on fire and needs you to put it out? The vampire.
The key here is to put the work back on them. When they come to you in a panic, asking you to fix something, you ask, that sounds tough. What have you tried so far?
Oh, I like that. It stops them from just dumping the monkey on your back.
Right. It forces them to engage their brain before they engage yours. And use the hard stop. I have a hard stop in 5 minutes. What is the most urgent thing? It forces them to prioritize.
This brings us to maybe the most important tool in the kit. The pleasant no. I struggle with this. I feel like if I say no, I'm being a bad team player.
That is the capacity trap. We think saying yes makes us valuable. But the source argues that saying yes to everything actually makes you unreliable because you burn out or drop balls. You should say no when you are at capacity or when saying yes sets a bad precedent.
Okay, but how do I say it without sounding like a jerk?
There's a 3-part formula. Write this down mentally. Part 1, acknowledge. Thanks for thinking of me.
Okay, nice and polite.
Part 2, the no. Clear and concise. I can't commit to that right now. Do not say I don't think I can or maybe. Say I can't.
And part 3.
Part 3, the softener. Keep me in mind for next time or have you ask Dave? redirect them.
And the rule is no apologies.
No apologies and no long explanations. This is crucial. When you start explaining, well, my cat is sick and I have this other report and my back hurts, you are opening a negotiation. You are giving them hooks to argue with.
Oh, if your cat is sick, you can just do it from home.
Exactly. A clear no is a boundary. A justified no is a request for permission.
A clear no is a boundary. A justified no is a request for permission. That is powerful. I'm going to tattoo that on my forehead.
It's a game changer. It stops the negotiation before it starts.
Let's pivot to something a little more logistical, but surprisingly controversial. Lunch. To eat alone or to eat together.
The eternal struggle. The introvert wants to recharge. The extrovert wants to bond. The guide suggests a specific ratio. 2 to 3 social lunches a week. 2 to 3 solo lunches.
So you mix it up. That seems reasonable.
It is. You need the social lunches to maintain those. Friendly, neutral bonds. Remember, small interactions build trust. But you need the solo lunches to keep your sanity. And it is perfectly okay to say, I need a quiet lunch today to recharge.
Now, a lot of us aren't in the office for lunch. We're remote. And the source mentions that digital diplomacy is a whole different beast.
It is. The lack of body language is the killer. In person, I can smile while I critique your work to show I'm not angry. In an email, it just looks like I'm attacking you. The text suggests that in a virtual environment, you have to over-communicate explicitly.
What does that mean in practice?
It means, and don't roll your eyes, using emojis.
Really? In a professional setting, I feel like sending a smiley face makes me look like a teenager.
I know. But the source argues that in a text-based medium, an emoji replaces the smile or the nod you'd give in a hallway. It clarifies tone. It's a professional tool now to prevent misinterpretation. A thumbs up or a party popper for a win actually builds psychological safety.
Okay, I will try to embrace the thumbs up emoji. What else?
It also talks about the importance of video. Cameras on creates connection. But for complex things, don't just send a wall of text. Use a video message, like a loom. Hearing a voice and seeing a face humanizes you in a way an email never can.
And virtual water coolers. Is that still a thing?
Essential. Since you don't bump into people at the elevator, you have to manufacture those moments. 5 minutes of chit-chat before the meeting starts is not wasted time. It's relationship maintenance. If you dive straight into the agenda every single time, you become a robot to them.
Okay, we've covered the nice stuff and the annoying stuff, but what about the bad stuff? Conflict. Real conflict. When do we handle it ourselves, and when do we call the pros in HR?
This is a critical distinction because people get this wrong all the time. The guide says HR is for harassment, discrimination, retaliation, or legal issues. HR is not for personality clashes. Do not go to HR because Dave chews loudly or because you have a style difference.
So for the style differences, we have to DIY it.
Yes, and there is a framework for this. Impact versus intent.
Unpack that for us. That sounds a bit academic.
It's actually really practical. Usually when we're mad, we accuse people of bad intent. You were trying to undermine me in that meeting. You don't respect my time.
And that puts them on the defensive immediately.
Right. They will argue, no, I wasn't. And now you're fighting about their feelings. Instead, focus on the impact. When you interrupted me in the meeting, I felt undermined. Or when the data came late, the impact was that I missed my deadline.
It's subtle, but it changes the conversation. You can't argue with facts.
Completely. You aren't attacking their character. You're describing a result. You start with good intent. I value our working relationship, and then you problem solve together. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again?
It takes the emotion out of it. It makes the conflict a problem to be solved, not a fight to be won.
Exactly. And that's really the theme of this entire deep dive. Work relationships are this weird middle ground. They aren't fully personal, but they aren't fully robotic either.
So as we wrap up, what's the big takeaway here?
For me, it's about intentionality. We tend to drift into these relationships. We let the complainer drain us. We let the micromanager stress us out. The source is saying, take the wheel. You decide who is an ally and who is avoidable. You decide when to say the pleasant no.
And don't forget the cross-department ties. We glossed over it, but that was a huge point in the source.
Oh, massive. The guide calls them career gold. Knowing people outside your immediate team is how you find out about new jobs, how you get resources, how you get things done. Don't just talk to the people sitting within 5 feet of you.
It gives you that broader perspective. It stops you from getting stuck in your team's bubble.
It does, and it protects you. If your whole world is just your immediate boss and they turn out to be toxic, you're stuck. If you have a network across the company, you have options.
I love that. So here is where we leave you today. The source material ends with a really provocative thought that I want to echo.
Yeah.
You cannot choose your colleagues. Unless you're the CEO, you are stuck with the cast of characters you've been given.
Right. You're drafted onto the team. You don't pick the roster.
But you choose how much they affect your energy. You choose how you react to the weird social experiment. The goal isn't to change the know-it-all into a humble servant leader. That's not happening.
Definitely not happening. Don't waste your breath.
The goal is to make the thousands of hours you spend with them suck less.
That's a noble goal.
So here's our challenge to you for this week. Pick one script. Just one. Maybe it's the pleasant no. Maybe it's the neutral for the complainer. Try it out. See if you can reclaim just a little bit of your energy back from the experiment.
And let us know how it goes. We'd love to hear if the neutral actually worked on your office complainer.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.